I transmigrated as the mad fool, but now I build the cold Regent's heart. Chapter 7. The success of the Kinetic Orthosis was a problem for everyone but Lin Xu and Prince Jing. For the Lin family, it meant the mad fool was now indispensable to the most powerful man in the empire.
This is outrageous! We demand answers!
This cannot stand, indeed.
They didn't dare recall him to the family fold, but they certainly couldn't execute him. They were locked in a stalemate of social disgrace. For Prince Jing, the success was functional. He walked with a steady gait, suffering less pain and projecting a renewed martial confidence. For Su Jin, it was a tragedy. The second round of the Imperial Artificer Competition was announced: architectural aesthetics and longevity. The challenge was to design a miniature, self-sustaining bridge capable of weathering the capital's heavy monsoon seasons.
The second round of the Imperial Artificer Competition begins!
Su Jin was ecstatic. This was his domain: beautiful curves, flowing lines, and the delicate poetry of stone.
This competition is mine! None can match my skill of brilliant bow in awe!
Lin Xu, Su Jin cooed, walking past my workspace and pausing just long enough to flick a speck of dust on my perfectly clean workbench. The prince may tolerate your iron crutch, but no one trusts a blacksmith to build a bridge. People want artistry, not aggressive utility. I was blueprinting the bridge's support structure, focusing on a tied arch truss system. Ugly, but structurally magnificent. Artistry is irrelevant to seismic load, Su Jin, I replied, not looking up. Your elegant arches will crumble at the first major shift. You use granite for decoration. I use it for its compressive strength. Su Jin's eyes narrowed. You misunderstand the emperor's taste. He values grace. And I have heard the prince himself say that your latest project, the brace, is aesthetically brutal. I paused, pressing my thumb to the corner of my blueprint. Brutal. Yes, an accurate description. I considered it high praise. Your Highness values results, I said, finally looking up. You value appearances. That is the difference between a tool and a decoration. Su Jin retreated, but his eyes were sparking with venom. The competition wasn't just about the emperor anymore. It was about the prince's attention. Su Jin needed to prove that my efficiency was a lie, a thin veneer of luck over a rotten core. The next morning, I arrived at the workshop. I had left the core components of my prototype bridge, the specialized pre-stressed steel cables, in a locked iron storage cabinet. When I opened the cabinet, the air smelled faintly of lemon and something metallic like stale acid. The steel cables were there, but the surface of the metal was mottled with tiny dark pits, pitting corrosion. The metal wasn't destroyed, but its tensile strength was compromised. I took a piece of the wire and strained it with a small vise. It snapped 10% sooner than it should have. Su Jin had used an acidic cleaning agent, perhaps lemon juice mixed with some other mild corrosive, to subtly weaken the metal. It wouldn't be visible to the naked eye until the bridge was under load in the final test, at which point the cables would snap and my perfect structure would fail catastrophically. It was a subtle, elegant sabotage, a classic White Lotus tactic. Use a cleaning agent to cause damage that looks like poor material selection. I walked over to Su Jin's workshop. He was polishing a delicate jade miniature of his bridge, his expression serene. Su Jin, I said, my voice dangerously level. Yes, Lin Xu, I am quite busy, you know, polishing the soul of my work. You used an acid on my pre-stressed cables, a common household corrosive, a very subtle, aesthetically pleasing sabotage. I appreciate the subtlety. Su Jin laughed, a light musical sound. My dear Lin Xu, I have been nowhere near your dirty metal. You must have simply used poor quality materials. Perhaps the mad fool's family is still cutting corners. Perhaps, I conceded, walking to his own workbench. I picked up the delicate jade miniature of his bridge. It was perfect, smooth, graceful, and utterly useless as an actual structure. "Your bridge is beautiful," I said, turning it over in my hands. "But jade, while aesthetically superior, has virtually no ductility or flexural strength. It is built on a lie, and unlike me, you cannot account for the unforeseen." I placed the jade bridge back on the table, taking care to put a slight invisible tension on the main arch. It didn't break. Not yet. I returned to my workspace. The cables were compromised. I could not rebuild them in time. I had a choice: forfeit or improvise. I took the damaged cables and cut them into short half-meter segments. I then began to braid them, welding the ends with silver solder, creating a thick, new cable with a heavily reinforced core. The resulting cable was monstrously ugly, thick, uneven, and covered with silver joints. It looked less like a cable and more like the scaled tail of a dragon. But the new structure, with its multiple failure points now reinforced by heavy metal, had a safety factor 4 times higher than the original. It was hideous, but unbreakable. I will not use the material Su Jin sabotaged, I realized. I will use the material he thought I would use. I gathered up the leftover fragments of the original corroded steel cable and tucked them into a small, sealed box. I then retrieved a small, unassuming packet of fillings I had collected from the Kinetic Orthosis project, the brass dust from the teeth of the escapement regulator. Su Jin's goal was to make my bridge break. My goal was now twofold: win the competition and turn his beautiful sabotage into his ugly downfall. I finished the reconstruction just before the final bell rang.
Done.
My grotesque, unbreakable bridge sitting next to Su Jin's perfect jade sculpture. The stage was set for the final round.